initiative across Asia. This forum brings together leaders to discuss scaling the maker movement for the real-world impact. Please welcome our esteemed panelists to the stage. Dr. Habibah Abdul Rahim, Director, Southeast Asian Ministry of Education Organization, Senior Secretariat, Bangkok. Dr. Law Suling, Academic Lecturer at Institute Pendidikan Guru, Campus Pendidikan Teknik Negeri Sembilan. Dr. Hesli Aziza Jalaluddin, Founder and Director of Shine Go Global Limited at Go Global Business School in Singapore. And our moderator, Professor Dr. Sharifuddin Muhammad Said, Director of Pusat Inovasi Teknologi, Makerspace Kuala Lumpur.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, distinguished guests, panelists, colleagues and friends. Selamat datang. Welcome to the ASEAN Makers Fest 2026. We have with us today distinguished panels. Yeah. And today we'll be talking about something which is a bit very special, because we know that for sure across ASEAN, education is no longer seen as just something which is so traditional, where you go to school, listen to teachers, right? You play around, you go for your tests, and you get your results. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, the same thing goes for university education. Yeah, I'm sure many of you have been to the university. Yeah, you go to lectures. You go to labs, you go to some projects that you have to build, right? You go to exams and you pass, and you are expecting yourself to be working for, big companies. Yeah. So this is what we know as knowledge acquisition, all in all. It's knowledge acquisition. But when we talk about what we are having today, and it is happening across the region, yeah, education is no longer seen as just knowledge acquisition. Yeah. In fact, people feel or people realize the fact that you're all here, you know that today's education could not make it in this real world today. Because we are facing a reality, yeah, that harks on innovation. They are looking for people who can make, people who can translate knowledge to something which is useful, something which is impactful. So today, we'll be discussing about that. Yeah? And I'm very happy to... So I'm very happy to welcome, first of all, Dato Dr. Habibah Abdul Rahim. Dato Habibah is right now the head of the director of CMIO, Secretary Director of CMIO, Southeast Asian Ministry of Education organization, right? So um, I used to remember because I used to deal with Kementerian Pendidikan in Malaysia. So it started to click that Dato' Habibah used to be the KP, Ketua Pengarah of Kementerian Pendidikan. Yeah. So she has a lot of experience, and there is no other better person to talk about this rather than Dato' Habibah. So thank you for being here. She came direct from Bangkok yesterday, right? And we are very happy to have you here as a panelist. Thank you very much, Dato'. Right. Our next guest, somebody that was introduced to me some time ago. Yeah. I think we were discussing about entrepreneurship, how to actually translate projects into real innovation. Yeah, what we make will just be a project. It will only be an innovation if there is impact to the public. Yeah. So Dr. Aziza, sorry, because I don't want to make mistakes. So Dr. Aziza, she is the founder of Shine Go Global. Yeah. And I've been talking to her about this before we were up here on the stage. So she is actually a strategist connector. Yeah. So anything that is born or that was born in, say, for example, the maker space, which is still a project, right? She is the one who's going to connect this project to the real world, right? So again, for this forum, there's no better person to talk about this than her. So thank you very much, Dr. Aziza. Uh, and our third panelist is uh, somebody that I know from again our interactions. Makerspace at is quite new, and we know that we have a job not just to inculcate maker education amongst university students, but also school children. Yeah. So we're trying to find a way to actually find the best way, the quickest way to actually push this agenda to schools. So we had a relationship with IPG Technique. Yeah. And that is where I started to know Dr. Loh. Dr. Loh, she is going to be the panelist that, that comes from the grassroots. Dr. Habibah will probably be talking about the big thing, the policies, right? Dr. Aziza will be talking about the strategic connections. Dr. Loh will be talking about the classroom. Yeah? How the idea of inculcating maker culture can be implemented in the classrooms of our national school. Yeah. Thank you very much, all three of you. I will start with Dr. Habibah. Since Dr. Habibah is the director of CMU, in the perspective of the region, the regional perspective, how is ASEAN currently involved in terms of hands-on maker-centered education? Is it really happening in the regional sense? Or is it only happening in certain countries in the region? Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Prof. Esteemed panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking on behalf of CMIO, or in particular where I come from, the Secretariat. So this is an executive arm of the CMIO Council. So we are covering 11 member countries in Southeast Asia because our council consists of ministers from the 11 member countries in Southeast Asia. We also have our associate member countries, 9 of them beyond Southeast Asia, 8 affiliate institutions, and we have our regional centers and network, 26 of them, where the majority is on education, the rest on science and culture. So when you speak about maker-centered learning, I think we are at CMEO bounded by our CMEO strategic plan, which covers from 2021 up to 2030. So for education, there are 7 priority areas from early childhood right up to higher education, right up to lifelong learning. So it also covers science, mathematics, STEM, TVET. I think the basics of it is that we believe in upholding the principles of maker-centered learning. We see it's an opportunity to reimagine education. It's also an approach to see on how teachers teach, or you may also call it facilitation, and also how perhaps the students as learners learn and experience, engage with real world situations and problems. So this is an opportunity we feel that should be embedded across our programs. So more specifically, as I mentioned, we have our regional centers. So I think you have one of them that I can see over there, our CMEO Wrexham in Penang, which focuses on science and mathematics. CMEO Wrexham has a dedicated space for makerspace. So they do structured workshops, school holiday programs, as well as outreach programs on makers, on 3D modeling and printing, as well as robotics. But the other centers do not have such makerspace, but they do embed the principles of maker-centered learning. For example, our center on STEM education in Bangkok, Thailand, promotes Southeast Asia Teacher Education Program, embedding inquiry phenomenon-based learning using a framework that's very much based on scientific inquiry as well as reasoning, which I think is very much aligned to the maker-centered learning as well. And we have other centers beyond, such as our KITAB in mathematics, our KITAB in science in Indonesia. I think that promotes learning such as computational thinking, even to reach learners in rural and remote areas. Because as we know, Indonesia is huge and it covers a lot of students. The population, I think 50 million students in Indonesia alone. But then the relevance of it, whether we are talking about real world situation. So these centers are regional centers. So it may be incubated, it may be piloted in the home country, in the host country, but it has to be relevant across member countries in Southeast Asia. So while KITAB in science and mathematics may be in Indonesia, or Wrexham is in Penang, Malaysia, but then again, the programs that they do should be relevant to other countries within the region. So it should reach out to the region. So in terms of how CMEO looks at it, I think it's very much in terms of relevance to our member countries. So when we talk again about maker-centered learning, I think it is so much embedded in us that it's not just the acquisition of knowledge, it's not just about the mind, but also how do we link our hands, minds, and our hearts. So this is very much the concept and principle of maker-centered learning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abiba. Yeah, I believe that CMO is doing a very good job. And as the doctor was saying, that even though it's incubated in each country, the idea of maker embedded learning is definitely growing, and it can be implemented in any of the aspects that Dato was talking about. Yeah. Um, makers or maker spaces in schools or even in universities, um, they might produce students, or rather, I wouldn't say produce, they give huge platforms to highly talented students who are able to produce, you know, unbelievable products, lah. Things which are, you know, wow, students produce this, it's like unbelievable, right? But most of these projects, they stay within, you know, the university or within the school, within the maker space. It doesn't go out. It was not, there's something wrong. There's a gap that needs to be filled, right? So maybe Dr. Aziza can actually explain to us what is this gap? Why are there like countries like Malaysia, for example? Malaysia does not lack in talent. You know, Indonesia, there's 360 million people. If we take only 1% of geniuses, there's 3.6 million geniuses, highly talented people in Indonesia. You know, but what's wrong? Why are these talented people not able to reach that stage? Yeah. So maybe Dr. Aziza can enlighten us on that.
Thank you so much. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome, everyone. And thanks so much for the opportunity. And welcome to those watching live on YouTube channel as well. So this conversation is very important because we are speaking from one angle of the whole ecosystem. It's about the students. How do they get out there? I come from the other side, right? We have so much of businesses that is lacking innovation. And this is where the gap is being filled. So it's not a skill gap, it's a system design gap. What we are looking at, actually, we want to see, we're talking about learning and doing, and how do we bring it to monetization? This is something that we need to look at very seriously. And what really excites me, because when I think about, once you say Bangkok, then I'm like, okay, my team in Bangkok comes into my mind. They are refurbishing old buildings into hotels. Now, what they have done, they have taken products of certain areas and redesigned it to be interior design products. So you see, there is a gap in every businesses, and it's right now very important for the like the other side of the corporate world to constantly look at what's available in the space. So the access is the biggest gap. The access to from the student side to the corporate world, and the corporate world or the business world to the students. Because this is like, it's been there for a while, and I have been doing one of those things, and I can continue on with the examples because I will share more later on. But this is a real thing, because a lot of people want to just look at how they are building it and get so excited about it, and that they remain as projects, correct? They remain as projects, and it's like, oh, I did that once. It's simple as this, right? When we see the watch, the other day I saw a child talking to his father or with the watch. I'm like, oh my God, I was with one of my friends. I said, isn't that what we were thinking about? That one of these days, these watches will be available, that we can talk from anywhere. So this is actually an ongoing process. So the gap is the access and how we can make the access. And that's where the system must be designed to make that happen. And Go Global is really committed to that. And we'll share more on that perspective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aziza. So the gap, as you were saying, is a systemic gap. Yeah. So it is not just about marketing the product, right? It's not just about marketing the product. I see it in a more a wider sense. The gap also exists in giving talents the opportunities to do what they're supposed to do. Yeah. And that goes back to the education. It goes back to what happens in the classroom, for example.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right? So that part is what we call, we call it the maker space mindset. I love it. Dr. Habiba is talking about heart mind coherence. We talk a lot about
Yeah,
that.
of course.
It
Yeah,
is about the
indeed.
clarity and alignment of an individual when they start. So we don't call it maker space mindset. We call it accelerated learning. And that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
So
true,
the
true.
accelerated learning requires that we take into consideration how monetization can happen. How do you really make it relevant what you create? And that's a important part in education perspective. As we get busy with the other side, we do have a whole faculty that we are working on. In fact, I'll be glad, they couldn't make it this time, and I'll be connecting them to University Malaya and Mr. Ramesh. The Tamil Nadu Future Tech Hub. They're coming out with a tech hub. They're coming out with all these amazing future technology education. But at the same time, they are looking at how this education will be monetized. So Go Global Business School is partnering them to bring it. Not about 10 hubs are planned for South India, as well as Pan India totally. And we want to come to Malaysia as well. So it's about 50 hubs planned where both the technology and whatever the makers and the entrepreneur come together intentionally with the purpose of the amplifying the impact.
We're
Right,
looking
that's
forward.
very
We're looking
important.
forward to that.
Yes,
Inshallah. Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
inshallah.
So um, I was mentioning just now about the giving opportunities to talents to actually produce something, and that happens in the education sector. So, Dr. Low, from your experience, how does, I mean, we know that the current education system is mostly knowledge acquisition, mostly. We can't deny that. You can say, no, we're not like that anymore, but we are still like that, unfortunately. Yeah. So what is your effort or IPG's effort in order to really inculcate the maker activities or maker education within the current classical classroom?
Oh, okay, can. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so from the IPG's perspective, I think for IPG, when I uh, when I went to IPG, I am surprised by the culture of innovation that they are in. They are encouraging the innovative culture where they have to come up with teaching tools, teaching aids to actually teach how to bring the ideas across. So I think IPG provide a lot of this platform for the students to innovate, to make. And for myself, what Prof said, a lot of knowledge acquisition, yeah. But I try on my part, I try as far as possible. I would like to think, okay, even though this is this subject given to me, so how should I create a making moment for my students? Yeah. So in whatever subjects that is given to me, if science subject is quite easy because there's a lot of acquired-based learning, but sometimes we get subjects that are quite challenging, like philosophy, like history. So how can we think of some moments that we can encourage students to innovate, to make something that can actually enhance their learning? So I think IPG is doing a great job on that. I'm very surprised by some of the creativity of my students in doing innovation. And I think this also, I think a lot of schools just now when we the
Teachers challenge,
teachers
yeah.
makers challenge, I am very surprised by the innovation and so the creativity of the teachers that they what they come about and how they use their product to enhance learning. So I think we are going towards that. Yes, there are knowledge acquisition, but at the same time, I believe teachers also, they are trying their best in their respective subject. They are trying to make something out of to be innovative. To be innovative. How can I make my students understand? I think a lot of schools are starting, and we really hope like this one will actually um, become a culture among all teachers to be creative, to be innovative. The main purpose is actually to help the students to understand, to actually understand, and also to enhance their learning. Yeah, and also another aspect is for my maybe I share my own experience. I love making. I love making. I think Prof also know I love making. But initially, my making experience is just a hobby. But because I'm a teacher, I want to see how would I make this making with a purpose? How should I let my students involved in making at the same time they learn something? Yeah, they learn something out of the making process, not just to produce something and that's it. But during the making process, what can they learn from it? Yeah, so that is my purpose when I do this in my classroom, not just for the sake of making, for the sake of innovation, just innovate, but out of that, what can the students learn? Yeah, that's from me.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting. Um, I just wish what Dr. Loh has explained when it comes to students learning from us, we being makers, right? Trying to impart our experience and our knowledge to students so that they also become makers. Just a small question. Um, how effective is it as far as your experience is concerned? Do students actually really absorb what you're trying to give to them? Yeah.
Okay, let me just share from my short experience. Um, of course, there are a lot of constraints. Yeah, use time limitation, but I want my students to see my passion. My passion. So how effective it is, I do not have the measurement, but I do feel that the students will be inspired by my passion if I um, encourage them to make, going through frustration, failures, how they enjoy the satisfaction of being successful in your product. So that kind of inspiration, that kind of moments is very meaningful to me. So in terms of effectiveness, I really don't have the answer because I just share from my experience to see how my students inspired by what I'm doing. So that when they're inspired, it gives me the encouragement. Yes, I'm doing something. Yeah, I'm doing something, and this really have an impact on them, and they are going to bring this to the school when they teach to their students. Yeah, so I would say I will share my passion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can totally understand you. Okay. At the moment, with us are well, I suppose up to 300 people who are watching online on YouTube channel, um, learning. Even though they are not able to make it here, they will still have that opportunity to hear comments and insights from our experts on on the stage today. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm coming back to Dr. Ling's experience, Dr. Loh's experience about uh, when she tries to inculcate or at least integrate maker type of activities in your class, right? Now, as far as individual teachers are concerned, that's understandable because individual teachers will impart things that they like to students and hope that students will learn a lot from it. But in terms of policy, Dato, in terms of policy, um, do you not think that it is important that today's education system must move beyond traditional education? That maker type of activities is not just an option. It is actually something that must be incorporated into our education system. And how are these maker, or I mean your suggestions lah, how could this maker activities or maker type of education be implemented in traditional STEM subjects, or even design? Like in Malaysia, we have RBT, right? What I observe is that RBT and STEM subjects, they are like two different rivers. They don't converge with each other. You know, two different rivers altogether. So what is your insight on that, Dato'?
Okay, I see a bunch of things within
Together. Put together.
that you have combined. Firstly, on traditional approaches, I don't think there's anything wrong with traditional approaches because most of us went through, our schooling days, our university days, uh, you know, through those traditional approaches, and it has brought us to where we are today. But looking at how things are changing and rapidly changing at that, I guess there's something missing if we don't use what we call as this makers learning, not just acquiring that knowledge, but also knowing how to creatively apply those knowledge and trying to solve, problems within our communities. Because the world today is not just valuing knowledge, but the world is valuing the application, the doing of it. So that means the application of those knowledge. Because we can get information everywhere nowadays and very fast at that. I was having a conversation with an expert from Korea, and he was commenting, why must we teach coding to students? Because at one point of time, we were saying, coding is very important. We have hour of code, for example, in Malaysia. So he was saying, why do we need to teach coding to our children when you can just plug it into the AI and it will do it for you and faster at that. And before I attended this session, I was in another meeting. So one of the things that was asked was, do you use AI in your editing work? And, the response was, yes, because it's faster. But then you need to also know whether how it's being edited is correct, whether it's just, whether the questions are being answered correctly. So I think there are certain skills that you need to have beyond using AI as the tool. So AI or technology is very important, but then again, the human side of it is in terms of the application, the understanding of the world, of the situation, which is perhaps beyond the technology, because technology like AI, for example, takes the structured information and comes out with your solution based on the information that you have fed into it most of the time. So therefore, there are certain things where the human side of it can bring into the use of the tools, machines, and applications. But then again, it shouldn't be seen as a competition where people also keep saying that it will replace the human side of it, particularly when we say introduce technology into teaching and learning. So are we replacing our teachers? It's not that. I think it complements. So whether your next question of STEM, reka bentuk, RBT, I think when we introduce maker learning, people feel challenged, but it doesn't mean that we are doing away with those disciplines. So for example, when a student does the 3D modeling and printing at Wrexham, for example, he or she is integrating mathematics, reasoning, uh, the science, the material science, as well as the design and the creativity part of it. That means these subjects or disciplines are not seen as siloed, but they come together, they are integrated, I think. So that's why I think with maker-centered learning, we can integrate various disciplines together and also apply the principles and concept of maker learning. So I see across many of our countries, we still treat STEM, for example, as siloed subject and not see it as being an integration. We see science and arts separately. We don't see it as coming together and producing something which is more holistic and more integrated.
Can I just add on from
Okay, please,
what
please. Yeah.
Dr. Habibas mentioned just now? Um, I would like to add on the role of the teacher in maker-centered learning. For example, just now, just building on from the 3D printing and modeling. Yes, there's mathematics, there's design technology, there's material science. But if the teacher or the facilitator did not make this explicit for the students or those who are handling 3D printing, they can okay, I just handle and then produce it. Then they'll miss out that learning moment. So I would like to add on perhaps the role of the teacher, like in all these makers, even STEM activity, a lot of STEM activities or makers, the role of the teacher is very important to make that learning explicit by asking the right questions, by asking the right question to arouse the curiosity and even to perhaps to let the students think. Because I feel that a lot of students, they missed out that moment. They create something, then they missed out that learning part because maybe perhaps we as teacher, we need to like make that learning moment explicit, ask the right question rather than just make it as a task completion project. Okay, finish, you're done. Yeah, so I would like, the role of the teacher is still very important to facilitate that learning, to make that learning explicit. Yeah.
I think very much linked to that, your statement on traditional approach, I think, and my earlier response to your question where we see the maker-centered learning as something that we can use to reimagine education. So I think just by introducing maker-centered learning without changing other things that are seen as traditional would not work. It will become like a one point in time learning rather than the student being or learner being able to encompass it as a whole. For example, if we are still teaching and assessing our students where we value memorization and recall, then we would fail this maker side of it because there's no connection to application, this design and creativity when you are assessing something totally different. So the higher order thinking is very important to be inculcated in our curriculum and in our assessment. So the way we teach would also be different because our curriculum now is valuing or including something which is different. That means how we assess our students would also be different. And our traditional approach or how we went through was that failure is something which you cannot tolerate and you will penalize students who fail. But then failure is something as part of the process of maker-centered learning because you design, you do experimentation, you may fail, right? But that doesn't stop you from, debugging it and doing it again to improve until you get the right solution to the problem that you are looking at. So again, it's a different way of how you would provide the education, how you would approach it, how you would assess it. If we want this kind of concept and principle to be embedded within our system.
Yeah. So can I like summarize it by saying, I'm not sure whether it is correct or not. You are teachers who are better at looking at things in a pedagogical way, right? Yeah. So can I say that the current education system has its specific pedagogy, which is adopted by teachers, the traditional education. So teachers are adopting a specific pedagogy, like for example, in assessing the student, you have very, traditional way of assessing students. So including the maker education, it's not throwing away the old pedagogy. It's like augmenting it, redesigning it, refining it, so that what you want out of the traditional way of teaching is still achievable. You're saying that the reason why we are on stage here because we went through the traditional education. Yeah, it's true. But for the current generation, it's not going to be enough. The reality is totally different now. So the school has to refine, augment, change their pedagogy so that it sort of filters the old traditional education. You still get the good results out of it. And in addition to that, the maker education would fill that gap. Where now, when we face reality, we have the insights of the traditional education, and at the same time, you are able to face the challenges of the newer reality. Would that be correct? Yeah? What do you think?
As an educator, I think teachers, if we talk about schools, universities, teachers are the most important uh, school-based or classroom-based factor to bring about student learning. Definitely, the teachers are key, but teachers are also, I cannot say generally because there are groups of teachers that during pandemic, they quickly change and adopt, remote learning, using virtual learning, they learn up. But there are also teachers who are not as quick to pick up or to change. And because you're forced into it, after the pandemic, they change back into the normal classroom style. So therefore, I think after saying changing from traditional to incorporate all this, I think teachers would also, we need to uh, change perhaps the role into not teaching, into more of facilitators and designers themselves so that they can understand when children move into this hands-on application kind that we are putting into our classroom, they too can contribute and be part of the whole process and in fact facilitate that process. But then again, I think when we talk about digital literacy, one of the things that we measure in the region is the confidence of teachers using computers, for example.
Right, yes, yes.
And at the primary level, 1 in 3 teachers lack the confidence to use computers in the classroom. And we are talking about things beyond that. So that's a huge task
Yeah,
if
I
you
can
want to
understand. Yeah.
reimagine education and bringing these kinds of concepts into our classrooms.
So besides policies, like that, I'm sure the industry, the is also responsible for bringing about changes to the this new ecosystem. Yeah, are you saying one, no, 2 out of 3, is it? One, 1 in 3 would have failed, or would have, would have problems in confidence in using technology, for example. So how would industry come into this and actually help? Besides policies, which are worked out by the government and the relevant authorities. How would industry actually go into that? And from your experience, Dr. Aziza, have you seen industry actually contributing towards that?
So, thank you for the question because right now we can see a lot of industries doing the CSR direction with it. It's like, let's see how we can bring in some interns, show them around. I feel that is a very passive way of handling it. Industries need to take more of an active role. We're talking about the future of the country, of the region, of the world. So, what can we do with youngsters coming in? I just came in from Bangladesh, right? I was there, and the two companies or the couple of companies I met, they're all second generation. They are in their 20s and 30s, and also they look very young, some of them. Fundamentally, they are getting employed or they're getting into space, but they are so not ready for the world. And this is a big one in many countries in the region, be it Indonesia, Vietnam, and of course Thailand and all these countries. So youngsters are coming out and they have not been able to be uh, ready for the world. And that not only includes about being in the maker space, it's also being an intrapreneur. So as an industry, and that's what we love doing. Interestingly, we have an NUS student with us here. So she's taken on the role, the initiative to come in and look into what else can be done. So we have to nurture our younger generation at the school level to be more out there and be more engaging with the industry. On the industry side, and the responsibility that Shine Go Global has taken is to elevate and also expand the consciousness, the awareness of creating impact. And it can't create impact. It, yeah, oh, I think there's something wrong with this. They can't create impact without giving a lot of innovative business. We call it business model innovation. Even though in Singapore we're talking about all this technology and everything, I'm part of our organization is one of the 70 company of good, three hearts convert in an organization part of Singapore. And when we were discussing about the current climate of entrepreneurs or businesses, they acknowledged that innovation or business model creativity is so lagging. And it leads to many other factors about growing as a company, scaling as a company. And this is a big one that entrepreneurs and industry should look at seriously. And engaging with the schools and academic part of it, and also definitely engaging with teachers who are the road or the means to the children is a different dynamic. So these are a few gaps that needs to be bridged. And I feel this is the role that Go Global has taken. We definitely look at seriously when we go into every country. We look at what are the gaps between the industries and the next generation, so that we can create generational impact, not just any impact, right?
Oh, excellent.
And of course, there's one more partner for this whole industry, which is the capital market. Because everything, we say money makes the world go round. Yeah? And in this instance, we cannot miss out because being an impact investment community, we are very clear about more and more businesses looking at and investors looking at impact funds. You'll be surprised. When I visited Silicon Valley in 2016, it was my very first visit. At that time, nobody talks about funding, fundraising, no angel or all these incubators in this region. And even then in Silicon Valley, when we were looking at some of the pictures that they were doing, one of the consultants actually told me they are nowadays, this is then, nowadays, investors are looking for projects that not just make money, but make money doing good. So this community is there. And this is the community that Go Global has been bringing together in our investors ecosystem. So we really want to see the glue coming, we are the glue. So it's like bringing together this ecosystem where it becomes a strong leeway and avenue and confident builder for the industry, for the makers, and for the next generation, so that they can really go out and come in and work together and make their projects go out there and make the impact. Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly believe that the inculcation of maker culture, or rather, in a more general sense, the culture of innovation, it is actually a multi-dimensional effort, lah. So the policymakers, the teachers, to me, the teachers are the jewels, lah. Uh-huh. And the environment, which is provided, the ecosystem, for example, which includes industry and industry's commitment to ensure that this ecosystem can be developed and sustained, because it's very difficult to sustain, yeah, especially when it comes to the innovation, and the involvement of industry is, to me, is imperative. Yeah.
So maybe I would like to
Yeah,
give
yeah,
an
please, bro.
example, because when we talk about innovation and everything, one of our partner company in Australia actually has innovated some health and technology product. He's actually part of Johnson and Johnson Lab, so innovation lab. So when he came out and he said he's a doctor by profession and he's come out with all these innovation, and when he approached us, it's like, how do I bring my innovation to market and monetize? And in the evaluation market, every IP, every technology, every breakthrough you hold is a value. So how do you get that into the market? So what we did, we actually started looking at who are the existing partners that is looking at the same industry that he is looking at. So this is where the clarity of the innovation meets the industry as well. So what we did, we have a partner in Singapore, and that's a different ecosystem. They have one vertical on wellness. So they are so inspired by the wellness product that he has built. So now this kind of connects the two together, and it becomes a different dynamics altogether for the market. So now both parties are so excited. They're like, oh my God, mine is good. And this is dealing with agarwood, what they call essence. And they are saying they want to bring it, and they have already brought it into skincare. And this innovation is on skincare as well. This is a gadget, this is a solution. Put it together, we're going to the market together. So this is something that we need to look at, how even within the innovators, this is talking about industry, even within innovators, they can join hands, they can get creative and create that collaborative environment.
Yeah, it's undeniable that most or many innovation. I mean, when we talk about computers, right, technology related to computers, many of the innovations are actually from the industry. So you have companies that have a lot of money, they bring the best brains, and they come up with a lot of brilliant solutions. Yeah, but there are also innovation that comes from even schools. Yeah, from schools. Now this brings me to the next thing that I want to really um, uh, put clarity on it, lah. When I was talking about the RBT and the STEM subjects, right? Um, I was being quite serious in the sense that I really see them as moving in two different rivers. Yeah. Many innovation actually comes from the RBT side of things. Yeah. I can still remember Mr. Zol, and there's an innovator by the name of Zol, he innovates a lot of things. He comes from that vocational type of training, right? But I also know of individuals who are great scientists who comes from this traditional, so-called traditional STEM, right? So I want just to get some insights from Dr. Loh. Yeah. Because these two things move differently. What is your insight on maybe gluing this together through maker activities, through maker education, through things related to maker, so that it comes together rather than both moving in two different rivers? Since you come from the IPG technique, so you deal with both, right?
Pardon?
You deal with both, right? With STEM subjects and RBT as well, more or less.
Yeah, we different department.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but because IPG is more on education, but I would like
Right,
to
right.
mention about science and RBT as a discipline. So for me, science provide the foundation because it provides the concept and the understanding of how things work, and RBT will apply all this and produce something. I mean, they are complementing each other. It's not that okay, science you do one thing, RBT will do one thing. They are actually complementary. I always believe that TVET and RBT cannot do without science because they are the foundation of their all the concept, the physics concept and how things work, how the circuit work. All come from science. Yeah, so science is more on building up the foundations for the application part for RBT. I always think in that line. Yeah, so for my students, like when I was in secondary schools, I always believe that if they have a good foundation in science, they actually will help them in their RBT or even in engineering and so on. They're hands-on, they're makers, because they need all this as their foundation, like the traditional learning part, the concept, to build on the foundation for them to apply in the real life situation. I will always think like that.
Yeah. I mean, that is what I'm expecting, lah. Because of course, there's no RBT if there is no STEM learning, right? My angle is this: students who do STEM, they have this tendency to think of these subjects as purely acquisition. You know, I learn, I hafal, I go exams, and I get my marks and go exam, right? RBT is a totally different ball game altogether. You know, I go there and I go do projects and it's fun. You know, without without having the tendency to think that they are both actually, you know, joined together very very strongly. This is where I think a teacher, especially the one you know working
I
in
think
IPG, would be able to.
nowadays the textbooks they are very good. They are actually very contextual in that part, where they link all the concepts and let the students see in the real life, real world practice. So I do think that the way that they deliver the lesson, I mean the textbook, when I mentioned, they really relate to the real life situation. It's just that the way the students approach it is like, okay, because I need to pass the exam. But I see the books, they are quite interesting, where they really relate to when I teach biology, for example, when I was in secondary school. Oh, this is very interesting information.
Yes.
They link the concept with some real life
Right.
situation.
So that means the policy is good,
Yeah.
but somehow the students are the ones who are thinking in a
I'm
very
not sure.
dichotomized
Yeah.
way, is it?
I see some of the books are very relevant,
Right,
very
okay.
up to date. I would say like that.
Mm.
Even they incorporate AR inside the biology book, where the students can actually see some of the AR
Right.
thing, augmented reality.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Interesting. Well, it's really time's really running very fast. So we have about 20 minutes. Maybe I can open up the floor to the audience if you wish to ask a question. Maybe we'll give one mic to them, eh?
Okay, questions, please. All right.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Has been such an insightful panel. So a quick introduction. My name is Bijak. I'm actually an human development specialist, international human development specialist, and also a consultant, originally based in Indonesia. Happy to wear batik today. I was in a field research here in Malaysia for the past 3 weeks. I'm currently drafting a human development report on Malaysia's sectors right now because we believe Malaysia has doing a few great strategies on the human development growth. I have two questions. One is more holistic, one is more infused. Just before we jump out into practicalities from your expertise, from your standing point, what are the key set of values? What are the mindset that is crucial to be embedded, that need to be inserted in one country, one institutions, one university, one individual to really inherit that makers, less inventors, less entrepreneurial spirit right now? What set of skills, what set of mindset that needs to be done? Secondly, I want to take a bit of a macro outlook, if I may, on the notions of our region that we're still developing. We are aggressively looking forward into the future of regions. if we look at the macro outlook of certain countries that have done it successfully, we look at China, we look at India. One of the key things that they've done is they're producing such amount of talents in such an incredible pace and also incredible quality. Therefore, my question is would be how we produce way more talents in our region in one country, for example, but also keeping in mind the quality that is needed for it. I think all of the greater ASEAN countries, Quads have successfully reached universal general educations. In most of our ASEAN countries, the levels of general education is almost 100%. But of course, there's a gap when we're reaching higher education, and more importantly, how that translates into expertise, how that translates into real work innovation. So how we can balance, how we can uplift the productions of talent, but retaining the quality at the same time. I think that will be my two questions. Thank you so much.
Right. You asked two questions, right? One is, what is it that we need to push in so that this maker education or maker mentality can be inculcated in our society?
Yes,
That's number one, right?
value, mindset. Yep.
Yeah, the mindset. And number two, countries like India have produced a lot of talents, right? I mean, it's quite clear. How can we, at least in this region, correct?
Yes.
Be able to produce these talents, but not just talents, but quality talents.
Yep.
Yeah. So those are the two questions. So I don't know who will answer the first, second question. It's up to you guys. I'm not going to force
Actually,
anybody to
both
answer.
seems like one to me. Because I'm a hardcore believer in mindset and heart shifts that's needed in the community, especially from the education sector. I come from the Accelerated Business School, the world's longest running experiential business school, where we have churned out people like Ben and Jerry ice cream owners, and we've churned out people like, Hourglass, where they grew into big markets. And many more. So what I want to say is the consciousness, the awareness of our community, especially from the children, pushing in is very hard. Push makes you feel like, oh my God, there's a lot of work to do. It is really about being available for the younger generation who are completely different animal. And how do we, sorry, I use the word animal, but we are all animals. The very different approach needs to be given to them. What we need is a more human-centric, I love what Dr. Habiba was talking about. It's human, AI, human. So how do we bring in humanized format to really connect with them, and definitely bringing in the whole, I mean, I'm for education, transformation of education. I've been sitting down with Prof and talking about how this can be done differently. And the education system, now we have some people like Madam here who can really move it at the educational ministerial level to seek a unified dynamics. This may be a very far-fetched thought at this moment because there's so much of diversity in our area, and also in terms of the way that each one has financially, and also in the way that we show up. I have to say, India, we say, has turned out, I have to be very candid about it because I work with India as well. They have turned out a lot of innovators, but you know where they have become successful at? Where have they become successful at? With their innovation. Not in Asia. Every unicorn that you see, they may be unicorn within the country. The ones that stepped out to be a unicorn have become successful because they went to US and were accepted by the international market. So how do we bridge that gap? It is a journey, I personally feel, and it starts with the clarity of all the stakeholders and unifying our intention to choose out. You can start small at different country level, and I think this is an example. I think what ASEAN Makers Fest has created is an example, an attempt to unify all the countries coming together and making it happen. That's my thought.
It's kind of a difficult question. I think that question came after we talk about STEM and that RBT, because although the STEM, you were saying the STEM foundations are very important, and yet the RBT is very important in terms of the application side of it, but we are still talking about subjects. Yeah, we are not dealing with, for example, when we talk about maker learning, you're thinking about the problem that you want to solve, and therefore you learn by the doing of it, using your design, creativity, experimentation, leading to that solution. We are still embedded within our own disciplines. And that's how our schools are structured. That's how our universities are structured as well. So I think what we are doing here is trying to put in that mindset, but still isolated within between our disciplines. But I have seen innovative schools, for example, that has moved along away from disciplines into problems and trying to embed the learnings from those disciplines in solving the problems. But whether our systems as a whole can move towards that. So looking at from the regional, while individual institutions is difficult, at the region too, it is difficult because we are talking about this Maker Fest. Are we looking at makers as side events where we have annual competitions and awards? I think what we need, if we are serious about makers, is to have that pathway of valuing innovation and talent, right? Innovation and talent. So it has to be an infrastructure of innovation and talent rather than enrichment and side events. And that infrastructure should be able to link schools, universities, communities, and industry, where industry comes in not just purely for donation, for those competitions and events.
CSR.
Yes, but to provide, for example, the mentorship, because you said that's where it actually happens. So where is that link then between our education institutions and community and industries? So we need that kind of infrastructure. Can the region, can ASEAN do that for us? Instead of having fragmented hubs across our nation, can we have like a regional hub, that can link all these various hubs within our region so that they are not fragmented, they are not siloed, they are not concentrated in just cities, but across throughout where it can reach, many people in our different countries.
Yeah.
So I want to just add one more thing to that, and I love it that this is like expanding on. So I'll give you our personal example. So when we talk about these kind of regional hub, it can be on industrial segmentation. So what Go Global, people will be asking us, why do you focus on travel, tourism, hospitality industry? It's not just one industry. It's like actually it takes care of everything. When I was walking out and I saw the bamboo, immediately my thought is, how can I integrate this into my industry? Like I told you, our team in Thailand is refurbishing old hotels, and they are putting in all kind of unique reusable things in their space. So to me, how do we get bamboo into the tourism? So it's the industry players when we come in and we have these kind of fairs based on industries could also make a change. And rather than saying, okay, I have this thing, who wants? Lelong like that, like just going out there and pitching to everybody. The industry players, like what we are doing right now, is very focused. And you will be surprised what the tourism industry can offer to the world, because it's everything. You sit down here, this is what we talked about, Malaysia tourism, right? The whole tourism is here as well. So this is where we can see so much of changes in the way that we can take it on. That's my thought as well.
Okay,
Mrs. Ramesh.
thanks, Dr. Aziza. Dr. Habiba, I just like to pick on the last point that you mentioned, which is what I think is most pertinent in terms of the maker space or makers initiative. There are many that's happening, but probably in silo. They're not connected. The infrastructure and also maybe the pathway is not there. And you suggested maybe bringing all under one. Now, I must congratulate Prof. Sharafuddin for taking the initiative to bring those into one common space, like the fact that all are here for the forum from the industry, I see that taking place, but organically. Can we take it up to the next level? One of the examples that we have is to create Train the Makers initiative, which means Makerspace together with STEM for All and all other partners can offer a certification for Train the Makers. That'll have a few what you call modules. The last module will actually be one that they become certified makers to teach others. Because now there is a lack of such resource people there are people who can teach 3D modeling, laser, bamboo, for example. So I spoke to Inche Rahim. Would you be able to be one of our trainers under this? Anytime. I spoke to Citron, I talked to all of them, and they're all willing to. What is lacking is infrastructure or what you call a structured module pathway in which they can come in any level, in which there's also experience for the industry, like a training. At the end of the day, they are certified. Yeah, so your thoughts on that, and maybe how can we work with Semio on something like that? Tough question.
I was talking about ASEAN.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it in two ways. I think we are speaking the same language. I was talking about the hub, and you going beyond in like what the hub can do. For example, in providing training and using experts in the makers, for the benefit of others. And when you said that, what struck me was we value formal systems, you know. So therefore, for the region, it's also important perhaps to recognize micro-credentials where you can pick up from those micro-credentials from those trainings. But then again, you need a framework on how you recognize those micro-credentials provided by various trainers, for example. How we can push it to ASEAN perhaps is ASEAN has come up with the education work plan. ASEAN Education Work Plan, new one. Uh, the new one. So it doesn't come from CIMIO, it comes from member countries. So you may want to push your idea to what Malaysia, for example, can offer during the work plan period. So you can champion that development of hub and what that hub entails. CMO perhaps can offer in that usually we work with our centers. Our centers can put in a concept paper on what this hub looks like and gets approved from our council. Then it becomes adopted as a regional hub as well. So you can either go through the ASEAN or go through the CMO through our various, any of our center and to be adopted, for example. So that's where it becomes a regional agenda. So perhaps that's something which would like to push, for example, just write in if ASEAN through Ministry of Education, Ministry of Higher Education to get it within the work plan. Or if CMO, you can write to the secretariat and we can push that through to our council. We are having our next council conference next year. So you have time to push it, but it has to go through our various platforms.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent. I think our first stop will be to work with Rexam on this because Rexam is part of this initiative. And through that, we will take it up to the next level. I'll pass it back to Dr. Sharafuddin. Maybe you've got some points. And perhaps before that, if there's any other questions from the audience. Yes, please.
One more question. Yes.
Hi, Dato. I have a question. I'm from the neurotechnology space, so brain wearables, brain-computer interface. So, can you hear me?
Can you put the microphone a bit more closer to your mouth?
Hello. Is this better? Yeah. So I'm from the brain-computer interface space, more like neurotechnology, brain wearables. So for me, in my opinion, neurotech can unsilo our industries and can also unsilo the student. And currently, we treat their academic performance and their mental health as two different files. Neuro wearables allow us to see them as one, where a healthy mind can direct the engine of high performance. So, how do we build a policy that reflects this interconnectedness?
I really can't hear you. You know, it's like yeah. Can you yes? Yeah. Can you come?
Okay.
Let me because you're reading something and I can't really get what you're reading.
Oh, okay. So basically, I would like to know how you could adopt neurotechnology as part of mental health and as part of education for our Malaysian students. Yeah.
For rehabilitation students,
For education. For education.
education.
Yeah.
You're talking about mental health, is it? Did you
Yeah.
say mental health?
Yeah.
Neurotechnology in relation to mental health. I'm not
Mental health and education. So that can attack
You mean mental health as in there's nothing to do with technology, right? Just
it has
mental
to do
health.
with technology because it's cognitive data.
Maybe Ramesh, can you explain
So-
as clear?
Okay, I'll pass. While you handle that, I'll try to get clarity on this question. All right, you please continue. All right.
Tak dengar sangat macam yeah. Yeah, anyhow, when you were talking about, especially Dato, you're talking about the fact that everything is siloed, the system likes silo things, right? So I remember reading the first book on innovation some years ago, and it really clicks, because he says that the writer says that reality has no subjects. Reality, if you have a problem in reality, there's no subject to it. Yeah, but in school we have so many subjects, So that's why when you try to solve a problem, you cannot look at the problem and try to think of it as a subject, this subject or that subject. So a problem is actually collaborative. In a way, if you want to solve a problem, it has to be collaborative.
I think maybe I
Unfortunately,
can.
the system is not designed
Absolutely.
to do that.
This is such a powerful part because the word co-creation is what we have been talking about a lot. And co-creation can only happen if we don't talk about as silo subjects. And when we can come together and become aware of what the gaps of each other and we are willing to play together to make the result come out as well. So conscious co-creation is what we call it.
Okay, right.
You answered the question, is it?
Yeah, no. So we agreed that it probably is not very related to this particular topic because it has got to do with neuroscience and neurotechnology and something. So she may want to take it up, bring it to your attention after this session.
Well, come look for me because we do have an innovation from India that we have been reaching out. We have been working on mental health with VR, and that technology is being brought out for about 800 schools are using it right now. So let's
Yeah,
comment.
that is
Okay.
probably relevant when you can
All right.
Yeah.
pick it up with
Okay, so
Dr.
Dr.
Aziza.
Aziza will speak to you later. All right.
Okay,
If you do
right.
not have any questions, yeah, we already timed.
I think the time is it's already 4:30.
Yeah.
So I'll give each one of you like 30 seconds of 30 seconds to 1 minute lah of summary, you know, of some executive summary of your uh, of what you want to say on this subject. Right. Dr. Loh, please.
Um, okay. Executive summary. Okay. I just want to share from my own experience as a teacher. I really like making. I just now I mentioned I like making. I like to make stuff out of hobbies. But right now I make making. I want to make making with a purpose. That means how I can use this to teach my students, to inspire my students, and let my students also enjoy making and making with a purpose, whereby they can take this culture and inspire their students when they go to schools later on. So that's my passion. And also, I always reminded my students that when we make, we want to make learning explicit. When I ask my students to make, I want the learning explicit. I want them to learn something from the making process. I want to ask meaningful questions so that they can learn along the way. So that's my part, what I am doing, and I hope to do better as a teacher, as a lecturer for my pre-service teachers. Yeah. Speaking from the ground, from grassroots.
Thank you. And, we talked about ASEAN. So the ASEAN doesn't need more ideas. We need more collaborative effort coming together. If we look at today, we have so many booths. I would like to shout out to every single one of you here and challenge you to look at who's with you today and see how you can collaborate and co-create so we become a closer community. So that would be a more effective way of a louder voice for people to know that ASEAN is coming together right here. And I welcome you all to join our shinegoglobal.com movement, where we are about conscious co-creation, and reach out to us so we can also see how else we can integrate you to the community of industries and what role and innovation you can bring to us as well. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity.
I think just based on this conversation here today, if we are serious of putting at central place the maker-centered learning, we have a lot of work to do. If you think about siloed, it's not just the subjects, even our departments are arranged as such. So, there's a lot of work if we want things to come together. So I think the one that I thought that we can push forward for the region on the hub or as a pathway, whatever we want to call it, may be something that we can pull at the regional level through ASEAN or CMIO or whichever. But to me, how the world is changing and our young generation requires us to move away from the traditional approaches. While I'm not saying that knowledge is not important, it is, because that's the foundation, as you call it, when you want to do the doing of it, the designing, creativity, it has to be embedded in the foundations of that knowledge. But then again, our younger generation are so different from how things used to be. For example, I have a 7-year-old grandchild. Yes. So I called her and said, "Come, let's read together." She went away and came back with her iPad. Said, "Mama, come, let's listen. The iPad is reading to us." So it's not her reading, it's the iPad reading to both of us. So she's using the iPad, the digital technology as a tool. she's not so good in reading. So she's using it as a tool. So I think how things are changing and how our generation are changing means that education and the way we learn and do things need to change as well. And if we look at the future of jobs report, look at the top skills required by the industry. A lot of it will touch upon those skills that's also part of makers learning. Yeah. They are in the top 5 or 10. And upcoming are technological skills, including AI, which will be very influential in times to come. And we are already seeing a lot of technology and AI being used in this makers learning of things. So I think things definitely will change. How fast it will change and how it will change also would depend on a lot of things, and we can put in, our effort into it.
Yeah, please, please,
One
please.
sentence. Okay. So I love to always end these sessions, especially when it's makerspace, and many of you might know our late mentor Buckminster Fuller, and he has this wonderful quote. And this is the time we always like to remind ourselves on how do we make the world work 100% of the time for 100% of humanity without any ecological damage or disadvantage to anyone in the shortest time possible. If we keep asking this question and every maker puts their heart and soul to it, we definitely can make an impact and make national growth, regional development, and global prosperity possible. So thanks so much for the wonderful space provided. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Loh, Dr. Aziza, and Dato' Habibah, for the very insightful conversation. Yeah. Sorry, I did mix up questions and create new questions because I think because I think I need the original thoughts that comes not because you prepare for it. Yeah, I have to be realistic on that one. So thank you very much. It's been a very insightful forum. For the visitors, tomorrow will be another exciting day. What is it? Yeah, okay. So tomorrow there will be another exciting day of Makers Fest, ASEAN Makers Fest. And there will be more activities tomorrow, panelists, another forum, right? One more forum, and we have pocket talks as well. Yeah, and tomorrow will be the official opening day of Makers Fest 2026. And I would also like to thank those who are watching and listening over the internet. Yeah, so I hope you have gained a lot from listening to this very insightful conversation. And I wish that you are also here to be, a part of this delightful event. But yeah, no worries. We are going to organize more. Yeah, and hopefully, maybe all over the region, right? With the opportunity, I do not know. Yeah, hopefully that can happen, inshallah. So thank you very much again, and I hope to see all of you back here tomorrow. Yeah, for another exciting day of ASEAN Makers Fest 2026. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a very good evening.
Next, we will have a workshop on origami fun, the art and science in every flow by Japan Travel Bureau, Malaysia. For those who are interested, you can go to the open workshop area to join their workshop. Thank you.